It took nearly 2 more weeks to assemble supplies and vessels for the journey. Sansa clung to her father, pleading to join him. She insisted she could not be parted from him again, not after the terrors of King's Landing. Arya said nothing, but Ned could see a stubborn determination in her eyes as well. He hesitated. He wanted to keep them close to ensure their safety. But the crossing might be dangerous, and Dragonstone was a bleak fortress known for its cold winds and chilling storms. Storm's End, ironically, might be safer for them at present. In the end, Ned decided to leave the girls in the care of Maester Pylus and Ser Jon Fossaway, one of Renly's more dependable knights. "Sansa, Arya," he told them gravely, "I promise I shall return. You are safer here. The men of Storm's End will protect you under Lord Renly's banner." He cast a glance at Renly, who nodded in affirmation. "Trust them." Sansa bit her lip, tears in her eyes, but nodded, hugging her father tightly. Arya scowled, muttering about how she didn't need protection, but Ned held her shoulders gently, telling her to keep practicing her forms and watch over her sister. The next morning, Ned and Renly departed. They rowed to a small cove further down the coast, where several ships flying the Stag banner awaited them. The largest, Storm Dancer, was equipped to carry horses and men across Blackwater Bay and around the rocky headlands toward Dragonstone. The men who accompanied them, no more than 100, were armed but discreet. They boarded under the cloud-strewn sky, and Ned cast a final glance at the towering ramparts of Storm's End. His heart felt heavy, leaving Sansa and Arya behind, but he knew they were in less danger here than they had been in King's Landing. He offered a silent prayer to the old gods that no Lannister army would come knocking. After several days at sea, the silhouette of Dragonstone rose through the morning fog. The castle's ancient towers and gargoyles loomed like twisted sentinels. From a distance, it appeared black against the pale horizon, an ominous presence that set many of the men on edge. But Renly stood at the prow, stoic, his cloak snapping in the wind. Ned joined him, eyes narrowed against the salty spray. Renly spoke without turning. "Stannis' seat. It always felt so lonely compared to Storm's End. I spent only a little time here growing up, and never liked it." Ned studied the fortress, recalling how it was once the seat of House Targaryen before the conquest. "We go humbly," he reminded Renly. "This is Stannis' domain." Aye. They docked in Dragonstone's small harbor, where a group of soldiers in black and gold Baratheon livery awaited them. Ned's northern men disembarked quietly, forming a disciplined column behind him. Renly's men, likewise, kept a respectful distance. There was tension in the air, a sense that a single misstep might ignite hostilities. On the stone quay, one of Stannis' knights, recognized by Renly as Ser Axel Florent, approached. "My lords," Ser Axel said brusquely, not quite bowing. "Lord Stannis awaits you in the chamber of the Painted Table. Surrender your weapons, if you please." Renly bristled at the command, but Ned placed a steady hand on his shoulder. "We come in peace. We submit to your lord's request." Reluctantly, both men handed over their swords. Their escorts, likewise, were relieved of arms. The Knights of Dragonstone escorted them up a winding set of stairs carved into the volcanic rock. Torches lined the walls, sending dancing shadows across the steps. The path was steep, and more than once, Ned's knees ached from the climb. At last, they emerged into the upper levels of the keep, where a heavy door led into a dim hall. In the center stood an impressive table carved into the shape of Westeros, centuries old. Candles ringed its edges, illuminating carved coastlines and inland rivers. And there, standing at the far side, was Stannis Baratheon. He wore a dark tunic, the flaming heart of the Lord of Light emblazoned alongside the stag's sigil. His jaw was set in a harsh line, and his blue eyes flicked between Ned and Renly. Beside him stood a red-robed priestess, Melisandre of Ashai, with fiery hair that seemed to blaze in the torchlight. Renly inclined his head stiffly. "Brother." "Renly," Stannis replied, voice as cold as the granite floor. His attention slid to Ned. "Lord Stark, I did not expect you to be so eager in your condemnation of the Lannisters. Yet you fled King's Landing. Some would call that cowardice. Ned did not bristle at the insult, merely stood calmly with his hands at his sides. I left to safeguard my daughters and to ensure House Stark would not be slaughtered by Queen Cersei. I came here to pledge my support if you claim the throne by right as Robert's heir. But we cannot do this alone. The Lannisters will have the backing of the Crown's gold and, possibly, the City Watch. We must unite. Stannis studied him with an unwavering gaze. So you do acknowledge my right. You bring men from the north. Ned nodded. We do. More will follow when the time is right. I left instructions with my bannermen. If I send the call, they will muster an army. But they require assurance that this cause is just. A muscle tightened in Stannis's jaw. Just. The cause is as just as the sunrise. Joffrey is a bastard. Tommen and Myrcella as well. Born of incest between the queen and her brother. So the Iron Throne is mine by all laws of gods and men. He turned his gaze to Renly. And you? Have you ceased your ambitions? Last I heard, you proposed a coup in King's Landing, intending to crown yourself. Renly stiffened, color flooding his cheeks. That was never the intent. I only wished to remove the Lannisters before they tightened their grip, as they have now done. You left the city the moment Robert died, so do not lecture me on ambition. Stannis's fists clenched on the table. Melisandre stepped forward, her red robes sweeping the floor. The Lord of Light has shown me visions of a great war, she said softly, her accent thick with a mysterious timbre. The Baratheons must stand as one, or darkness will devour the realm. Renly's lips parted in surprise at her intrusion. Stannis seemed only slightly mollified, but he gave a terse nod. What would you have me do, brother? He asked, voice laced with sarcasm. Embrace you as a friend and forget that you once thought to steal my crown? Renly swallowed. Steal? It was never that. I wanted to save the realm from the Lannisters' tyranny. Now we have that chance. Together with Ned Stark's backing, and the Tyrells and any other houses we can sway. Ned took a step closer to the table. Lord Stannis, the realm cannot afford a war within your own house. If you two are divided, the Lannisters will exploit that. We can stand against them if we unite, and if we do so quickly. You are Robert's elder brother. You have the rightful claim. Renly and I are prepared to swear fealty, but we also ask for your cooperation and reason. No rash steps, no immediate condemnation of those who might otherwise join us if we offer them the right incentive. Stannis's stern countenance did not soften. However, he glanced down at the painted table, tracing a path across the map with one gloved finger, north from King's Landing to Dragonstone, then south to Storm's End, and westward toward Highgarden. The Tyrells, he muttered. Mace Tyrell once besieged me at Storm's End, but left me to starve. He's no friend of mine. Why would he join me now? Renly pulled in a breath. He might not, but his daughter Marjorie is betrothed to me. He paused, recollecting how that detail might land on Stannis. The elder brother only twitched an eyebrow. Renly continued, We have an understanding, the Tyrells and I. If I show them that our cause is strong, they might yet back us. They hate the Lannisters as much as you do, and if they believe you to be the rightful king, I can persuade them to pledge their banners. Stannis eyed him with suspicion. You have always been good at charming people, brother. But Mace Tyrell is not so easily swayed by anything but advantage. Then I'll offer him advantage, Renly said firmly. If that is what it takes to rid the realm of Lannister rule and see you crowned. Stannis fell silent, weighing the words. At last he gave a curt nod. Swear it, both of you. Swear it now. Bend the knee and swear loyalty to me as the rightful king of the Seven Kingdoms. Ned exchanged a look with Renly, then stepped forward. He knelt, placing one knee on the cold stone. His voice rang clearly in the still air. I, Eddard Stark, Lord of Winterfell, Warden of the North, do swear fealty to Stannis Baratheon, rightful king of the Undulls and the First Men. I will serve and protect him against any foe. Renly hesitated for half a beat, then followed suit. kneeling beside Ned. I, Renly Baratheon, Lord of Storm's End, do likewise swear my loyalty to King Stannis, first of his name. May we rid the realm of usurpers and traitors. Stannis gazed down at them, and for a moment, something like triumph flashed in his eyes. Melisandre watched, her expression unreadable, but a subtle smile played on her lips. Rise, Stannis said. If you keep your words, then we have an alliance. Ned stood, exhaling quietly. Renly rose also, meeting Stannis's gaze with forced confidence. Neither man seemed at ease, but for now, a fragile truce was forged. The realm's fate might hinge upon it. In the weeks that followed, Dragonstone became a hive of activity. Ravens fluttered from the rookery daily, bearing the news of Stannis's rightful claim to all corners of Westeros. Some letters were requests for the fealty of the major houses, Tully, Arryn, Tyrell, Martell, while others were commands to the Crownlands to stand aside. Stannis declared that any house found openly supporting Joffrey would be branded traitors. Meanwhile, Ned and Renly worked tirelessly to reinforce the message with personal letters to lords they knew. Ned wrote to his wife, Catelyn, who was still in the Riverlands, explaining the alliance with Stannis. He urged her to contact her brother Edmure Tully at Riverrun to gather support. Renly dispatched trusted envoys to Highgarden, bearing urgent pleas for Mace Tyrell's alliance. In these messages, he proposed that Margaery Tyrell's marriage to him could still proceed, now with the implicit blessing of King Stannis, or so they framed it, thus ensuring the Tyrells' place of high favor in the new regime. Privately, Ned worried that Margaery might find herself overshadowed if the realm discovered the truth about Cersei's children. But that was a problem for the future. For now, the present demanded a united front. Stannis, for his part, focused on gathering ships and men. He would need a fleet to assault King's Landing if it came to that. He also paid close attention to the movements of the Lannisters. Scouts reported that Tywin Lannister was marching an army across the Riverlands, presumably to quell any House Tully rebellion and to encircle Harrenhal. Stannis ground his teeth at the reports, frustrated that he could not move swiftly enough. If the Lannisters consolidate their forces, he told Ned and Renly in council, they will be entrenched. We must strike sooner rather than later. Ned agreed in principle, but we cannot strike King's Landing blindly. The walls are strong, and we'd be laying siege to the seat of the Iron Throne. We need the support of the City Watch if possible, or at least a rebellion inside the city to open the gates. Renly tapped his chin thoughtfully. We might sow dissent among the small folk, spread the truth about Joffrey's parentage, that they are ruled by a bastard boy. If enough turn on the Lannisters from within. Stannis let out a sharp bark of laughter. Small folk? They are sheep, easily herded by whoever holds power. We need more than rumor to galvanize them. Perhaps a show of force, a demonstration that the rightful king is at their gates. Then they might open the city to us. Melisandre, who stood at Stannis's shoulder, interjected with her soft voice. The Lord of Light shall guide us, but only if we keep our hearts pure and our cause righteous. Blood might be spilled in this endeavor. She looked pointedly at Ned. You, Lord Stark, have the blood of the first men. Your loyalty is vital, as are the swords of the North. Ned suppressed a chill at her intense gaze. Something about the Red Priestess unsettled him, though he could not deny she seemed devoted to Stannis's success. The North remembers, he replied evenly, thinking of how Robb and Catelyn would soon rally the bannermen. Once the snows begin, we can't travel swiftly, so we must move soon. But the North will ride if I call. I only hope that we can spare the lives of the small folk in the process. Stannis offered a curt nod. So be it. Letters soon arrived from various parts of the realm. Mace Tyrell's reply was cautious but not dismissive. He expressed deep sympathy for House Baratheon's losses and stated that Highgarden awaited further confirmation of King Stannis' claim. The Tullys responded more warmly, given Catelyn's influence. Edmure Tully wrote that Riverrun would stand with King Stannis if House Stark supported him wholeheartedly. The Arryns were silent, perhaps due to the Vale's isolation or Lady Lysa's reluctance to engage in warfare. Dorne also remained cautious, old Martell grudges against the Baratheons and Lannisters alike possibly stirring. Despite these uncertainties, Ned sensed that the alliance was slowly growing. His daily interactions with Stannis revealed a man as stern as granite, but not without reason. He saw how Stannis listened to Renly's counsel, albeit stiffly. Renly, for his part, attempted to curb his casual manner and present a respectful front toward his brother king. The tension between them was palpable, like a taut bowstring that might snap at any moment. Yet, for the sake of the realm, they both tried to maintain civility. The date was set for a war council to finalize their next move. They gathered in the chamber of the Painted Table once more. Stannis and Melisandre, Ned Stark, Renly Baratheon, and the key captains of Dragonstone's forces. Ned stood behind Stannis's left shoulder, while Renly stood at his right, a studied show of unity. The Painted Table was strewn with markers indicating armies. Golden lions for the Lannisters, trout for the Tullis, roses for the Tyrells, and wolves for the north. The crown stag piece was placed at Dragonstone, yet small ships dotted the sea around King's Landing, representing the fleet Stannis was assembling. Stannis laid a hand on the wooden figurine shaped like the Iron Throne, positioned squarely over King's Landing on the map. We have a choice. Strike soon with what forces we have, or wait for the Tyrells to commit their banners. If we move too soon, we risk being outnumbered. If we wait, the Lannisters fortify their position and bring more men south. Renly frowned. The Tyrells will only join us when they see we have a chance of winning. They don't want to risk open war, especially not after supporting Robert so strongly in the past. They fear losing everything if they choose the wrong side. But if we can demonstrate that the realm supports Stannis, they'll likely throw in with us to remain in favor. Ned spoke up. We must also consider that Tywin Lannister's forces are rumored to be in the Riverlands, forging alliances or subduing rebellious lords. If we can coordinate with House Tully and hamper Tywin's maneuvers, we might keep him from reinforcing King's Landing. Divide and conquer. Stannis nodded, a spark of interest in his eyes. Yes. If the River Lords hold Tywin's attention, he cannot easily come to the city's defense. That would allow us time to blockade King's Landing from the sea and from the Rosby Road. We'd starve them out or force a swift capitulation. Melisandre added in her measured tone. But be wary of darkness from within. The Lannisters have cunning. They will not surrender easily. A grim hush fell, each considering the looming conflict. The flicker of the torches cast shadows across the Painted Table, making it look like the land itself was shifting under the light. Finally, Stannis squared his shoulders. We will sail at once to Storm's End with our men, gather reinforcements, and then move by land toward King's Landing. A portion of our fleet will remain to blockade the Blackwater Bay. Renly, you will lead the vanguard from the Stormlands. Lord Stark, you will see to it that the North sends men to join us near Harrenhal, blocking any Lannister approach from the west. Ned inclined his head. I will send the Ravens to Winterfell, or wherever my wife and son are mustering the bannermen. We'll converge with your forces as planned. Stannis looked each of them in the eye. I will have your loyalty throughout. No hesitation, no betrayal. The realm is at stake. Renly and Ned both agreed solemnly. For better or worse, the lines were drawn.